Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. John Kelly, Profiler, and welcome. Welcome to today's show, Broken Babies. I have to tell you that I'm really honored today to have Tim Braun on. You know, Timmy's retired sergeant of detectives, North Jersey homicide. I think he did his career in Somerset on a very, very big case, a case I'm sure you're all familiar with, the Charles Cullen case, the serial killer nurse from Somerset County in New Jersey. I mean, this is a very, very big case. A lot of people were killed. Mr. Cullen is certainly doing many life sentences in a New Jersey state prison. But really, this case is known for the movie as well that followed it up, The Good Nurse. And The Good Nurse, of course, is about Timmy Braun and his partner arresting Charles Cullen. And of course, there's an actor playing Timmy and an actor playing his partner. However, there's a documentary that goes right along with the movie, The Good Nurse, and the documentary stars Tim Braun and his partner. I mean, Timmy's in the documentary. Now, this is very, very important because during this whole case and everything that went on with it, Charles Cullen seemed to be passed and was passed from hospital to hospital to hospital. And when he was passed from hospital to hospital to hospital, he killed people from hospital to hospital to hospital. Okay. And thank God for Timmy and his partner and for arresting him and getting him out of the healthcare system. We've got too many nurses out there, folks, by the way, killing people. Over the past 10 years, I've seen some crazy stuff, and Timmy's seen a hell of a lot more than me. But I am honored today just to have Timmy on. He's been a great colleague of mine. We've been friends a long time. And I've worked up close and personal with him. And I will tell you, he's one of the best homicide detectives I have ever seen. Truly one of the best in the country. And, he owns Braun Consulting. Timmy, welcome. And also, before I further introduce you, I just want to say that a nurse we're going to be talking about today, Erin Stratman, she's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. I want to put that out there. She's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. There's a lot of allegations out there and opinions, and that's what we're going to be going over today. But I have to tell you, Timmy is really well known right now throughout the country. Again, I'm honored to have him. But Timmy, tell me about Braun Consulting. What do you do?
Well, we work in a few different areas. One of my focal points is training law enforcement, coroners, medical examiners, toxicologists. The forensic world, criminal forensics, and law enforcement. Nursing. I would extend myself to the medical profession also. And my presentations that I do focus on the awareness in the healthcare system, in particular with dealing with violent crime that occurs in healthcare facilities, investigating violent crime in healthcare, inside healthcare. It's especially for law enforcement. It's an uncommon area for law enforcement to become involved with. Most dealings from a law enforcement perspective, healthcare occur when a violent crime victim is brought into a facility. That's where most law enforcement encounters occur inside healthcare. It's generally uncommon to have violent crime occur within the hospital or other facility, including nursing homes, assisted living, and other inpatient facilities that law enforcement becomes involved with. So that's it's a different environment for law enforcement in particular. I also work on other homicide investigations, consulting with active and cold case with law enforcement, and I work with families. I'll work with families who are dealing with either suspicious death cases or homicide. They're dealing with law enforcement or the medical profession to help guide them through the process. I extend that to family members. And, again, with my training or consulting for that matter, if a healthcare facility would want advice in how to proceed with an investigation, internal investigation within a facility, I would offer consulting services for that also. Generally,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah, I was just going to bring this up. I mean, I know you for over 20 years, and I know, that you've worked hundreds. And folks, I'm not just talking about 200 or 300, hundreds of cases, okay, murder cases. I know you have, and I just wonder, do you ever hear from hospitals? Because I would think by this time, hospitals or nursing homes or care facilities would have gotten the message after seeing the good nurse, right? And seeing your investigation on there. Are you hearing from any? Because if I'm in a hospital or I'm an administrator in a hospital, especially knowing what I know from working around you, I mean, the most important thing is to try and get ahead of somebody and get them off the street, get them out of the hospital and get them investigated and get them where they need to be, right? And probably jail. And certainly, you may have some problems with that, but the sooner you get ahead of it, I'm talking as a hospital, right? The sooner the hospital gets ahead of it, the better shot they have of having less claims. Because by prolonging it, I mean, what goes around comes around, as as you brought that out. I mean, it might, you might pass the buck or the person out of your facility and send them away, and some of them have been sent away with, pretty decent letters of endorsement, right? And, they go and get a job in another hospital and they start all over again, right? They're addicted to killing, and they just continue. So it's better to identify this early, get somebody like yourself, and I don't know anybody else that does it better than you. Okay, I would like to see them retain your services just to investigate it and get your opinion on it, and try and stop the buck, from getting passed, So you don't hear much from medical centers, or
No.
not yet.
Uh, and
Not
I,
yet.
and I, well, I wish I could or would, or at the very least, if law enforcement might hear a little bit more from medical facilities. Now, like I said, it's not just hospitals, it's these other inpatient facilities that have a system that, in many cases, these acts of violent crime, physical assault, especially in these nursing homes, that type of activity. And then, of course, you have, deaths that are the result of a murderous act that do occur too. A lot of this does not, it's not that it's undetected, it's unreported. It's unreported outside
Exactly.
the facility. They keep it in-house and ultimately sweep it under the rug. Either they'll, let the rogue employee go on their own and allow them to move on in many cases. That pattern seems to occur quite often. And I saw it in the Cullen case, and several cases I've been involved with since, and even till today, literally today. I'm involved in a couple of cases that I'm consulting on, and that pattern exists in those cases.
Yeah, there's no question about it. You do have other cases. One on the top of my head, I'm not going to talk about it, but a nurse that supposedly killed, over 20 some people, right? I mean, in a nursing home. I mean, it's just, just the way it is. And this stuff will come around. What goes around comes around. This will come around to bite whatever medical institution in the ass. I mean, it might take some time, but it will come full circle. And I, really suggest them to get ahead of it. And like you said, report it, I mean,
Unfortunately, you can nip it at the bud in the early stages, because that's often when it starts and when it's detected. And then, unfortunately, they let these people go and they move on to another facility, and there's a pattern starts to develop, and that is that people continue to move from place to place in many cases, leaving a trail of either death or whatever their method of violent crime is in their wake. In in one case, there was a serial sex offender, a male nurse in a nursing home setting. And he fell into that pattern also, where these events were occurring in several nursing homes where he was employed. And he was arrested, finally. So it does occur. And like I said, it can and should be nipped in the bud much sooner than, unfortunately, it sometimes turns out.
and families, we talk about the people that have been killed, but the number of families that this affects, oh my goodness. I mean, this is just incredible.
Yes.
I mean, you go to the hospital one day and your loved one's doing well, or the nursing home one day and your loved one's doing well. The next day, and you're getting all good reports. The next day, you go in there and they're dead. I mean, my God, you talk about the shock, shock and awe of it all,
Yep.
and, like, and talking about identifying it early on when there's early warning signs before a person starts to evolve and elevate, right? And that's what we're talking about today with Aaron Stratman, who's innocent until proven guilty, right? And all the allegations and opinions that are out there about her. But she's only a 26-year-old nurse. And here we go. We got her getting charged with malicious wounding, child abuse, neglect. I mean, she's got some serious charges here. She's done some serious injuries, but you can start to see an escalation in it. I mean, from these babies, their legs being broken in the NICU, right? In the NICU
Yeah.
unit, and then moving on, we have, I think, one child that I know of, their ribs were broke or cracked or whatever. So you can
Correct.
start to see if, in fact, it's her. I don't know. It's up for grabs. We don't know. This is, like I said, these are allegations and opinions. She's innocent until proven guilty. But this is what's going on. I mean, she was at least identified before it got much worse. But was she evolving? Who knows? Has she done anything? We got to wait for the court to come back with that and see what happens. I mean, what are your thoughts on her and what we've seen so far? And I know you've gotten a good amount of information. I mean, what do you think? And it's been pretty much information that's been out there reported, right, by the news and everything. So, I mean, again, we're talking about allegations in the news. Go ahead, Timmy. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. As you said, the information that's been made available to me has been through the media and some public records that were available. I haven't seen or haven't been privy to any information either from the hospital or law enforcement. And there has been reporting on this since her arrest, I believe the 1st or 2nd of January. And actually, this came to my attention through you and another colleague. Yeah, you turned me on to this a few weeks ago. Happens on the same day as another colleague also reached out to me on this. So I wasn't aware of it until then. And that's when I started looking into some of the coverage on it, through the media. And also came upon a document from the Virginia Department of Health. And this incident occurred in Henrico County in Virginia. Henrico, if I'm saying that correct, Henrico Doctors Hospital up there in Virginia. So, looking into this, she's been charged thus far with assaulting one of potentially 7 victims. And these victims are infants that were patients within the neonatal intensive care unit at this Henrico Doctors Hospital. And it's quite serious. These 7 infants were victims of physical assault, which fractured their small bones, different parts of their bodies. And they started back in 2023, where there was a set of four incidents that occurred within about a month or so. Back in August of 23, that led into September of 23, four babies that were, they discovered fractured bones, various parts of their bodies. And they supposedly launched a internal investigation. The administrators, that is. Now, I might reference the hospital. When I make that reference, my reference is administrators, executives, and attorneys representing them. I kind of use that hospital as a general term for those people. But the hospital supposedly conducted an internal investigation before they brought the police and Child Protective Services into play. Now, their internal investigation was for about a month or so, at least a month, an ongoing internal before they reported anything outside their facility. And that in itself is quite concerning to me. It is. I hear internal investigation. Sometimes I refer to it as the internal CYA, because if they truly were conducting a legitimate internal investigation, part of that would have been notifying the proper authorities. In this case, Child Protective Services, which they are required by Virginia state law, at least, and in most states, some sort of child protective service agency is to be notified if there's any indication or signs of abuse. That was not done in this case, not until weeks later, well after the 24-hour required reporting period. So, you know, there are a few issues there that I see, you know, that would and could pose some obstacles, especially in a law enforcement investigation. And the police were later brought into it sometime after that period also. Again, I don't have access to these official documents, so, you know, yeah, so I can't tell when certain people were notified, time, and things of that nature. Again, I'm going from media accounts and court records and things of that nature.
You know, tell me, you know, if I'm wrong here or if you need to tweak this, but would, as luck would have it, wasn't one of the baby's grandmothers or relatives actually a nurse in a NICU unit in another hospital? And
Yes.
right off the hop, turned around and said, as soon as she heard it from her family member, daughter or son, whatever, I don't know, yeah, hey, this isn't right. There's something going on here. This is abuse. And supposedly she made a call to, you know, Division and Youth and Family Services or whatever the organization might be down there. You know, is that in fact how, you know, it happened? This lady did make, this lady, I saw it somewhere in the news. This lady did check into that and make the first shot, fire the first shot.
That it appears that way. Like you said, the grandmother of one of the victims in this case, when she was told about this by her son, the father of the baby, she, you know, she actually reached out to Child Protective Services to report it as a some sort of an abuse on her grandchild. And yeah, uh, that you'll see that often in you know, cases similar to this, where family members will be the ones to report something outside of the facility, either the police or a regulatory agency, uh, something to that nature. Family members will, you'll see that before the institution itself will report outside, like they're required to do. But sometimes they hold on to it as, you know, while they conduct their investigation. But yeah, that's right. The grandmother, and is still upwards to at least about a month or so, or within a month or so after her reporting to Child Protective Service, that the hospital themselves reached out.
Yeah, the other thing I saw somewhere in the news, you know, that Aaron Stratman had her own personal problems too. Um, and I don't know how they got involved or they didn't get involved, but wasn't she on paid leave and then came back to the job or something? I'm
Yes.
wondering if she, you know, what the reasoning was for the paid leave. You know, if they had suspicions then or if some other things were going on. I mean, who the heck knows? Looks like, you know, kind of in a way they didn't put cameras in, right, in the hospital. and supposedly ended up catching her or having some kind of evidence on her. Uh,
Yeah.
Tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm
No.
looking at it because I also saw where she had her own problems, mental health problems, some substance abuse problems. This is what was reported out there. It's the scuttlebutt or rumor control, or it's true, whatever, and the bottom line there is, you know, um, what do they do about that? Certainly the nursing board, if they had proof, or can it be just an allegation for them to get involved? I don't know. Maybe some of our listeners, our audience, can tell us about that, give us some facts on that, because we have nurses that watch this show. I know that. And, this woman, obviously, has got problems. Mental health and substance abuse problems from the way it was reported. Um, and certainly, really, in my mind, being an addiction specialist, and a profiler, it's like, had no business working around patients, let alone children, newborns. You know, it's pretty, they're pretty fragile. You gotta be on your toes and know what you're doing, right? You can't be
Extremely.
messed up, really. You gotta have you gotta have it together. You know what I mean? So, any more
Yeah.
scuttlebutt on that? Any more rumor control on that?
Well, I don't know about rumor, but what's been reported, and the reports were seem to come from through the courts or the prosecutor, that information was gleaned from some text messages that she had made, uh, or some information they found on her phone related to much of what you just said, with regards to potential substance abuse and some mental health issues, um, that she has, and she has texted about to, I'm not sure to who, but texts of that nature were found on her phone. So she's
So
got some
that's
issues.
where it came from. Okay,
Yeah,
right. Now,
she may have some issues. And
text.
there have been other rumors that have been reported through the media that I personally would, refrain from commenting too much, not knowing the sources, where they come from. So, I don't want to drop the hammer on somebody unless
Exactly.
I
No,
unless I
absolutely not.
know, feel comfortable with the source.
Okay, so Timmy, when you think you've seen it all, right? When you think you've seen it all and you've heard it all, from my standpoint anyway, I know you've seen a lot worse than I've seen, but children, babies, newborns in a NICU unit, I mean, broken bones, broken ribs. I mean, where do we go? Where's this? This is like crazy. It's and what I'm looking at in just about all these cases, murders or broken bones or whatever, in these hospitals, I'm seeing a lot of internalized rage, coming out, um, and being focused on the patients. And, I know this from being in the field as long as I've been in the field, that if a healthcare provider has their own stuff for whatever reason that they're not dealing with, some of it could just be psychopathy. They could just be psychopaths, but I don't believe the majority are. But the bottom line is that you see this internalized anger being projected onto patients, and I know from being in the field that that's what happens lots of times. Not that it gets to the point of murder or broken bones, but I've seen other aggressive or acting out by certain clinicians over the years that aren't together with their own stuff and have their own problems, and or are mad at administration for some reason, wherever it might be in any healthcare sector. There's various issues. What I'm interested in is what's the root cause of this particular girl. They're all different. They're all different. It's like anything else. Everybody's a different individual. But what's the root cause here? And hopefully we'll find that out sooner than later.
Well, I'm far from any type of mental health expert, but what I see here is a sadistic
Oh
individual.
yeah, this is
Sadist.
sadistic.
And inflicting this type of pain and injury to these little people. Now, the neonatal often, I want to say that often are your preemies, your premature babies. So they're often a little underdeveloped. Uh, they're small. Some of them can fit in your hand. They're that small. Unlike a regular baby nursery for newborns, these are the critically ill infants who need that intensive care to survive. Unlike a regular nursery for newborns, who are usually full size and healthier. So, these are extremely fragile human beings. And with that, these injuries are not created by themselves. It takes intentional physical force, really, to create these injuries. And that is reflected by people who saw this early on, who reported, a doctor in particular reported that the injuries that she found were not accidental, which, in other words, to me, is intentional physical force was used to, cause these injuries. Compression type of injuries that are breaking bones, arms, legs, ribs, and who knows what else. And you're looking at 7 children that they know of, and I say that because there's a good chance that some of this may have gone undetected or unnoticed, um, especially with depression of these small kids. If you're up in the torso, especially, if you're applying that much force to fracture a bone or rib, what's it doing to your insides, your organs, your lungs? Are these ribs, puncturing lungs or organs, or just the force of that compression? Are they rupturing organs and, sending some of these kids into distress and, not being picked up maybe as physical assault, because these little ones are just like little ones in a nursery. Their movement is very little. It just because of the development stage of human life at that time. They're not moving around too much generally. At least the NICU ones, I would think, especially, they're a little more, a lot less mobile. So, these are things I would look at a little deeper also. looking into this case is not only these 7 victims, but open the scope a little bit more too, to look into other potential victims.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and you're the, you're the professional when it comes to this. I mean, but it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. Look into it, get into it now. If there's anything else that has to be cleaned out, let's clean it out. Let's get it out in the open, right? Let's deal with it. You hit something right on the head. We consulted our doctor, Dr. Eddie Mirsky, who's a great psychologist. First thing he said is exactly what you said, okay? That this woman is sadistic. This, to him, this is just showing an extremely sadistic person that would do this.
Sure.
And that's what he said. And it flies in the face of so many great nurses and so many great doctors out there and so many great hospitals, and then all of a sudden, boom, you have patients being murdered over here. Boom, you have babies being murdered over there. Especially, I think the latest is over in England. I'm not sure. And then,
Lucy Letby.
right?
Lucy Letby over in England.
Okay.
Yeah. She was
Got it.
neonatal. She was neonatal also. And she, yeah, she was killing babies.
Yeah, it's amazing, and that's not too long ago, right?
No, within the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another common theme over there, apparently, too. Again, through media is where I'm getting my information. But in looking into it, there's an ongoing investigation now of some sort, looking into the reporting and failing to report the actions of the administration over there with that hospital, actions they took and didn't take while she was on the unit, doing her thing. It was reported to administrators, much like this, much like many others. It gets to the administrative and executive level, and yeah, they they don't do what they should be doing.
Well, hopefully, this is going to inspire them to do more sooner, because you're going to get bombarded with lawsuits. And like I said, when you see it all, I mean, we've heard of the murders all these years, but this is so new for me, and it's kind of, since it's new, it's really horrific and chilling to believe somebody could break, newborns' legs and ribs, and God knows what else has gone on. Hopefully, more will be revealed sooner than later.
I
Timmy,
hope so. There's
go ahead. Good.
there's
Finish up.
there's a lot there. The hospital chose to put her on paid leave in September of 23. They brought her back just this past September of 24, and actually, I come to learn that. Well, let me hold that one. Until I can shore it up a little bit more. But they did bring her back, and they not only brought her back, they assigned her back onto the NICU. No sooner is she back, 3 additional victims pop up, one of which she was just, she came back in mid or late September, and by early to mid-November, she was back to, assaulting these kids, breaking their bones. And there were 3 between November and December, 3 known victims, I should say. that they found, and again, one of which she was charged with, and that came about because of the newly installed video surveillance security system that they put in place on the NICU during the period that she was out on leave. They took some security measures at the recommendation of the State Department of Health. That came about, and she was captured on video assaulting one of the victims, for which she was charged with.
Unbelievable. I mean, like I said, it's just horrific and chilling. Is there anything else you'd like to say, and do you have a message for our viewers, for our audience, on just any of this at all?
Well, go with your gut. If you feel something's wrong with a loved one, the care or treatment of a loved one in a healthcare facility, I would say start with the healthcare facility itself in reporting your concerns, whatever they may be. Kind of see how far you get with them, and if need be, you move ahead outside the facility. There are different agencies out there, depending. It's a case by case basis, so there's not a one size fits all type of thing. So depending on the situation, that would dictate where you might want to go after you go through the process of the facility itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess if you see something, say something, and bottom line, reporting any kind of child abuse, especially to babies. I'm pretty sure you have to, according to the laws in most states, you have an obligation, and it's your responsibility. So,
Especially as medical professionals.
yes, sure.
Especially, in this case, had it been one child being suspected of being assaulted, you have to start with the first one, because in the event that child is being assaulted by the people who are coming to visit the child, more often like the parents. So, in this type of a setting, usually visitation is limited to parents or immediate family, or, in neonatal setting, intensive care type of setting, it's usually limited visitors. But if you're looking at a single event, those are likely suspects naturally. You have to start there, and then, see where that takes you. But when you're looking at multiple victims, unrelated victims, like in this case, you might be able to eliminate the family and visitors a little quicker and direct some of your attention more towards staff members, which in this case is the case.
Yeah, a predator in the hospital with a medical license. It's interesting because you know your theory a long time ago with serial killers when I first met you, you're 20 years ago. I mean, well, on one particular case, you said we probably won't get the first ones, the first victims. We won't know who they are, unless he gives them up, and he's not going to give them up. So do you think it's the same here? Like where you're not going to get the earliest victim or victims. I mean, Was it like maybe one baby and then 4 months later another baby and then 6 months later or 3 months later, because this looks like to me that after, if she in fact did it, if she in fact is guilty, if she in fact is the predator here, it's like, when she went back to work, it looks like it started to escalate. She started evolving pretty quickly, right? Yeah. So, you just wonder. She wasn't there that many years, though. I don't think, right? So,
I'm not familiar. I'm not sure of her work history time frame, but I would definitely open up the scope to include her entire career. How long was she on NICU? Was she on another unit before that? Was she at another facility before that? And if so, I would check, her prior units, if it's in the same facility where she worked. If it's another facility, I would definitely look into that. And just within the NICU itself, I would go, look at the incidents prior to those initial ones back in 23. I definitely opened the scope up on this, on her. It's, through experience, it, that's another common theme that has showed itself. These people are getting caught on the first go around. It's often after multiple occurrences that had occurred that led up to when they finally get captured.
and it's like you said, what are the unit or hospital or wherever else she may have worked? That would be very interesting. What's her history like? In the hospital, the work history. Has she been, corrected by administration on various things throughout her history there? Has she been, you know, uh, faced any kind of, penalties or, disciplinary actions, in the hospital? For what reason? What did she do? Where was she? I,
Right.
I totally agree with you. Totally.
And you say the work history. That would also include performance evaluation assessments that are routinely done, on staff members by their supervisors. That's something that you would look into. And here with the nursing board, her license was active, and as far as I can tell, there were no prior disciplinary actions reported. Now she's suspended on leave, paid leave, as it's reported, but she's on leave for a year, and I
Long
find that
time. Long
I
time.
I find that odd. That's an awful
Very odd.
long time
Very
to be on any leave, unusual, I should say.
odd.
And, I don't suspect she was put on leave because she was, showing up late for work.
Not
Uh,
that kind of way.
you know, she, they had strong suspicion what she had done to those first four babies. That's why I believe, again, I haven't seen it, but I might suspect that she was actually on leave during that period of time. And then lo and behold, they bring her back. It's like putting the fox in the hen house, putting her right back in the same place that they suspected she was harming people. They put her right back into it. To me, that's crazy. If anything, if you have to, or you find there's a need to bring her back, put her onto another unit, away from these babies, at least, put her somewhere else. I mean, to me, that's crazy, because no sooner, as I said before, no sooner did they put her back, she was right back to what, her doing her thing. So,
Well, hopefully more will be revealed. Is there anything else, Tim, before we break?
no, that was it. Nice chat with you. I appreciate
Yeah,
it, as
really
always.
good. As always, really good. I truly appreciate you. Ladies, gentlemen, folks, Tim Braun, check out The Good Nurse too. I think you'll find it very interesting on Angel of Death serial killer Charles Cullen out of New Jersey. And Timmy's documentary goes right along with it too. It's really, really worth seeing. You'll really open your eyes up, about, some things that can go on in medical centers. It's very, very eye-opening to me in a lot of ways. Again, Timmy, I'm honored. Thank you so much. Great seeing you. See you soon. And to our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you. We can't thank you enough. Most importantly, be careful out there. It's a violent world we live in. Stay on your toes. Take good care of yourself. And until we talk again, meet again, God bless. Thank you.
As always, John, be well, my friend.